Let's create and run unit tests with Maven. Here we are in IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition. We'll create a new project. We'll use the default language of Java and the build system of Maven, and we'll give the project a name of Maven Test Example. Let's change the group ID to com.beginsecure.maventest. And we'll be creating our own code and don't want IntelliJ to create anything for us, so let's uncheck Add Sample Code. And we'll click Create. The project is created and loads, and here we are in the Maven POM file. Since we're focused on creating unit tests, we need to add the dependency for a testing framework to our project. We'll add the dependencies block and add a dependency. We'll be using JUnit Jupyter. Let's add that to our artifact ID and add the group of org.junit.jupyter, and the version we'll be using is 5.9.0. By the way, I already verified that this framework has no vulnerabilities before I shot the video. And the scope for this package is test, meaning it won't be packaged with our deployable artifact. Right now everything is red, meaning the dependency is unresolved. So let's open the Maven window from the sidebar. Right now there are no dependencies listed for the project. We'll click the reload button, and Maven will download our dependencies. If we open up the item, we see JUnit Jupyter listed along with the transitive dependencies it requires. Let's go ahead and close out of Maven and write some code. In the project window, we'll drill into source, main, Java, as well as test Java. Right now there's no code in either location. We'll right-click on Java and create a new class and call it com.beginsecure.domain.borrowername. This will be a very simple class and contain just two data fields, both strings called first name and last name, and we'll create a few methods for the class. First, we'll create a no-argument constructor by right-clicking, selecting Generate Constructor, and selecting No Data Fields. Next, we'll generate the getters and setters for the fields. Finally, we'll create a method called getFullName, which returns a string. It will return the value of first name and last name, converted to uppercase with a space between them. Clearly, this is not production code. We should obviously be checking for null here and doing other things to make sure the code is more robust. This is something you'll do in the production quality code that you write. Once we're done with the code, let's right-click and select Generate Test. In the dialog box that appears, we'll select a few things. First, we want to select the setup method. This will give us an opportunity to create and initialize the object we'll be testing with. Next, we'll want to test each of the getters that we created. We'll use the setters to change the data in the object, so they'll be tested along with the getters, and we won't need individual tests for them. And we'll click OK. Notice over in the project panel under Test, we see the equivalent package to the one we're currently in, com.beginsecure.domain has been created, along with a class called borrowernameTest. Let's take a look at the code. It's a pretty simple class with void methods for each of the tests we'll create, annotated with test, along with a setup method annotated with before each. The setup method will run when the class is created by the test framework. Here we should perform any initialization activity required for the test methods to work. We'll create a class-level field of type borrowerName. In the setup method, we'll initialize the object reference by invoking the no-argument constructor. Now we'll write the code for the individual test methods. First, we'll create code for the getFirstName method. We'll invoke the firstName method of the class-level field, borrowerName, and set it to Bart. And next in our test, we want to call the getBorrowerName method and make sure that we get the same thing back. Since we know what our test input will be, the name Bart, we can check to see if we get the string back using the assert_equals method. By convention, the first argument is the value we expect, and the second argument is the result we get from our call to the getFirstName method. Now let's do the same thing for getLastName. We'll set the borrower last name to Simpson, and we'll use assert_equals to check to see if the last name is Simpson when we invoke the getLastName method. Finally, for the getFullName method, we have a bit more work to do. We'll set the first name to Lisa, and we'll set the last name to Simpson. We'll use the assert_equals method again to verify that the full name returned to us is Lisa space Simpson with the first letter of each name capitalized. We're done with the coding, so let's run the getFullName test individually first. We can do that by clicking the green arrow next to the method name and selecting Run getFullName. Looks like we've got an error message saying our test failed. In our test, we expected the string Lisa Simpson with the first letter of each name in caps. But instead, we got the name Lisa Simpson in all caps. Recall when we wrote the code, the getFullName method returns the first and last name converted to all uppercase. If we click on the link that says Click to see differences, IntelliJ will show us a very cool side-by-side view of the expected versus actual data. For this simple example, it's quite clear what's wrong. But for the more complex, extensive test results that you write, this display can come in handy. Let's go back to our test code and fix our error. We'll change the expected result to be Lisa Simpson in all caps and rerun the test. Now we get a nice green check mark and an exit code of 0, meaning everything worked fine. To run all the tests in this class, we can click the green arrow next to the class name, and we get green checks for all 3 tests and an exit code of 0. Let's say that we want to run this test code invoking Maven test. We'll select the Maven window, and then click the green arrow to run Maven. In the output window, in the results table, it says tests run were 0, there were no failures, errors, or skipped tests. That's weird because we know our tests are working. To get the test to work, we need to add the Surefire plugin to our Maven POM file. We'll go back to the POM file, and under Dependencies, we'll add a build block, then plugins, and an individual plugin item. And then the group ID will be org.apache.maven.plugins. The artifact ID will be maven-surefire-plugin, and the version we'll use is 3.0.0.m7. By the way, I verified this package has no vulnerabilities before making this video. Notice everything is red. We'll need to refresh our project to resolve the new plugin dependency. Over in the Maven window, we click the reload button and our new dependency is resolved. Now let's run Maven test once again. In the run output window, we see the message tests run were 3, meaning Maven successfully ran our tests. Before we go, let's look at a couple of other ways that you can run tests directly with Maven. We'll open a terminal window, run dir, and see that we're in the root of our project where the pom.xml file is located. First, let's run the simple command mvn test, just like we did from the IntelliJ Maven UI window. Once again, we see that all 3 tests were run. Going back to our test code, let's say that we have many test classes, but we want to only run the test for a single class. To do that, we can run the following command. mvn-D equals the name of the class, in this case borrower name test, space, and the Maven lifecycle phase of test. We get the same results all 3 tests were run. That's because we have only one test class in our project currently, which is the one we specified. Now let's say that we want to run one individual test from the ones available to us. We'll recall our command by hitting the up arrow and change it. After the class name, we'll add a hash or tic-tac-toe symbol, followed by the name of the test we want to run, in this case, get first name test, a space, and then we'll specify the test phase to be run again. Now in our output, we see the message test run were 1, meaning only the specified test was run. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. If you find these videos helpful, please subscribe. And remember to always begin secure.